All right, let's start. So an overview of the current PMP. Let's look at the roadmap. But before we look at the roadmap, a gentle reminder of what you did for your PMP certification. The focus was on 5 process groups, 9 or 10 knowledge areas, depending on when you wrote your exam. And then with a lot of inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. And then you have the 48 or 42 processes, depending on when you wrote your exam, are splitted under the process groups and then interwoven with the knowledge areas. That was what you did. Unfortunately, some people are still going through training and being taught the same. There are some similarities between the exam you wrote and the exam we have now. You would appreciate as we go along. So if you are writing the exam now, this is what you are going to see. We have we have 6 sessions, which I am calling levels now. The first one is business environment. You will be taught to understand the business environment where your organization functions and how the project you are managing fits into the strategic goal of your organization. You will look into how to start the project. Because at the end of the business environment, the business analyst would have done the gap needs assessment. I mean, after the gap has been identified, needs assessment, and then the project is selected, and then you come on board as a project manager. You start the project, and then you plan the project. We will look at the activities under all this, and then you lead the team. There is lots of focus on you, the project manager, and your leadership skills, and it's no wonder 48% of the exam focuses on that, you managing people or leading people. And that is your people management skills that will be tested there. And then you have support the project team. That's you empower them to be able to deliver, and then you close the project. So that is it. Those are what the exam is based on now. It sounds so simple. Actually, I feel it's simpler now. So when we say business environment, under that, you understand the strategic alignment of your projects. And most of us manage our projects without even understanding what the strategic goal or the value the organization wants to achieve. So you need to know how your project fits into the strategic alignment of your organization. And then during the training, we look into project benefits and value. So you are not just concerned about the output of your project. You are concerned also about the outcome. The outcome, I hear people use the word interchangeably. They are different. The output is what you deliver, your deliverables. And the outcomes are the benefits that ensue from the outputs. And that is where your organization will get the value. So you need to understand that. So gone are the days when after you deliver your deliverables, you are done with the project. No, you need now we factor in what goes into operations. So after you deliver the training you give the people that would implement your deliverables, that would ensure that the organization benefits in terms of value or outcome, is part of what you now do as a project manager. During the training, which is part of what you probably did, we look at into organizational culture and change management and how organizations need to take advantage of change management. And you need to be aware of this and ensure that you carry your people along and you are empowered to be able to carry your people along. Then we look into project governance. All this that you are looking at it from the perspective of predictive, adaptive, and hybrid. Okay, because they differ slightly, or not slightly, they differ. Okay, so project governance, what is the approach that you are going to use in implementing your project? And then we look at project compliance. What are you complying to? Sometimes project managers are executing their project and they don't even know that they are supposed to have taken some legal permits. So you need to understand the compliance that your organization abides with, and the one that the what is it called? The sector, okay, within which you are operating, also you apply or you abide with. So this is what goes on in lesson 1: strategic alignment, project benefits and value, organizational culture and change management, project governance, project compliance. We don't hear inputs. We don't talk about, okay, we talk about tools that you will need, okay, to be able to carry some of these activities, but not tools and techniques, and not outputs and not inputs. And then the second lesson is on you starting the project. Now you understand how your project is aligned to the strategic goal of your organization. You understand the project governance, the project compliance, what you should do and all that. Now you are starting the project. What is the first thing that you would do in starting the project? You identify and engage your stakeholders. This sounds so familiar with what you know already. And when you identify your stakeholders, you will come up with stakeholder register, and that would help in your communication. You know at what level, consistent, detail your stakeholders require information and update. Then you form the team. You form the team. This is one of the cautions I give people. You don't form team based on who you know. You form team based on the skills required for the project. So I will need an architect of this level. I will need a quantity surveyor of this level. I will need a mason of this level. After you've identified that, then you look in-house and see whether you have individuals that fit into this. So that is the order. But often people are appointed as project managers, and then I will put Ebo as part of my team members. Benedicta will be one, Bernard will be one. So then when they are done, with putting individuals there, then they now say, what can Ebo do? What can Benedicta do? That is reverse. You form your team based on the skills that you require for the project. And then you identify individuals within your organization or within your department that fits into that. And that is when you'll be able to tell that this particular skill, we don't have it in the organization. And then we will need to outsource or employ someone as a temporary, or depending on the skills, if it will be required after the project, as a permanent staff. So you identify and engage stakeholders, you form the team. And then the next will be build shared understanding. This is very, very important now, because then it means you are making information available to all that are involved in the project. And then you engage your team members so that you have the same understanding of the project. This is when you can get the best out of them. Remember that the exam now is testing how you relate with people, and 42% of that exam is based on this, and then 50% is based on process. So like what you did, 50% of it is what the exam is based on now. So if anyone goes for the training and is still using 5th edition as the guide, you are preparing for 60% of the exam. When you are building shared understanding, you are building it from the 3 different methodology: predictive, adaptive, and hybrid. Once you understand predictive and hybrid, adaptive, then you know that hybrid is has the elements of these 2. Okay, and then we get to a point that when you are starting the project, you will determine, based on the scope and the peculiarities of the project, whether you are going to adopt a predictive approach or adaptive approach or hybrid. If you have components of highly uncertainty, then it means that component will be handled in an adaptive manner. And then if you have one that is, the end, that will be predictive. Predictive is majorly plan based because you know where you are going. If you are asked to build a 10 classroom for a school, you know it's 10 rooms, you know the dimension from beginning to end, so you can plan it and be able to come up with when the project is likely going to be released. But if you pick your phone now, most of the app you have, the people designing don't even know what the end will be. They know that they want an app that can do this, maybe when I tap on it can make me smile uncontrollably. They don't really know how to get there, but they know what they want. And so they come and they do it in an incremental manner. So there will be lots of planning, and then there will be a lot of releases that will be improved on. And that is where you have the user story. When they release based on feedback, then the product owner, which is like the project manager for predictive, prioritizes the feedback that is gotten through user stories and then give it back to the team. Then they plan and then they release it and then feedback again. So it's iterative. So that is what goes on in adaptive. Unlike predictive, that you know the end. If there's going to be any change, of course, you follow the change control board that you would have instituted from the beginning of the project. So the build shared understanding is just to ensure that everyone on the project, as well as your external stakeholders, are on the same board with you. Okay, and that makes work easier. So you determine the project approach, as I mentioned, depending on the information you have and your skills, of course. And so with that, we finished business environment, you understanding how your business fits into your organization strategic goal. And then we move to start projects. And then we said that when you start projects, what do? You identify and engage your stakeholders. That's the first thing you do. And then you come up with your stakeholder register. So now you've started your project, you form your team, now you are planning the project. This is the one we are all, because I'm assuming that the people on this call are PMP certified and they got their certification before 2nd January 2021. We are familiar with this. You plan your project, then you are looking at the subsidiary plans, you are looking at baselines, because that is what you'll be comparing your projects with. And what are you planning? You are defining your scope. And all this, you are doing it during the training, because we are assuming we don't know the approach you are adopting. You are doing it from the predictive perspective, from the hybrid perspective, and from the adaptive perspective. You plan your schedule, you plan your budget, you plan your risk, you plan quality, and then you integrate all the plans. So these are the plans that you are going to be working with. Once you finish with planning the projects, you move to lead a team. As I said earlier, emphasis is on leadership, your skills. So you lead a team by crafting your leadership skills. And one of the things I've been encouraging people this year to do is to conduct their own personal SWOT analysis. Many of us have not done that. You need to know your strength. When you see people talk and say that I am good at this, it's because they've analyzed themselves. But some people think this guy is proud. How can you be saying you are good at it? Me, if you ask me, don't make mistake to ask me. I will tell you I'm a very intelligent, smart, proactive lady. Because I've identified my strength, and then you identify your weaknesses. Your weaknesses will help you attract people that are strong where you are weak. And if you do not have low self-esteem, you'll be comfortable working with such people because it will increase the probability of your successes. So why wouldn't you want to work with such? So for you to be able to craft your leadership skills, you need to know who you are. Please mute your mic, please, because I'm getting feedback. Thank you. So for you to be able to craft your leadership skills, you must know who you are. You must understand your strength. to be able to do that. And one of the ways you can do that is to conduct SWOT analysis on yourself. There are 3 levels of leadership. Leading self. If you are unable to lead yourself, you cannot lead anyone. And you are able to lead yourself when you understand who you are and you understand your triggers. Often when we talk about emotional intelligence, people think it's about someone else, but it starts with you. When you understand your triggers, you will not be losing it, like getting angry and losing control. Because you can tell that this thing, the way it's coming, I'm likely going to get angry and misbehave. Okay. So these are some of the ways you can craft that would help in crafting your leadership skills. Okay. And then you create a collaborative team, project team environment. Part of the training is to ensure that every single team member feels you hear their voice, you listen to them. There is no favoritism. So it becomes your responsibility as a project manager to create a collaborative environment where people can make suggestions without being laughed at or teased because it was not taken. Like, people are comfortable enough to be vulnerable. I've also discovered that one of the traits of a good leader is ability to be vulnerable. It's actually from a strength area. If you are comfortable and you have your esteem is not low, it's okay to say, I don't know this. It doesn't take anything from you. And so you must create that environment that people will be comfortable to say, I don't know this. Can you show me how it's done? And then during the training, we talk about, or we teach students, empower your team. Empowering team is through training, mentoring, coaching. I ask people during the training, what's your leadership style? Oh, me, I'm collaborative. Oh, I employ consensus. And I laugh because these are leadership styles that every leader must have and know how to deploy each of them. Oh, please mute. Why? I'm hearing some feedback. So these are leadership styles that we all must have. You train yourself to have it. There are situations that you have to dictate. There are situations where you have to seek consensus. If something has to be done now, this is not the time to, what do you think? What about you? Okay, let's vote. Sometimes you just have to take the decision. I've also discovered that people hide behind consensus in case it goes wrong. You know this thing, we all agree to do it. Then we all agree to do it. You understand? That is why some people go for consensus. But take it from me today that you need to understand all the leadership styles and be able to deploy them as at when necessary. And then, so you should be able to know how to coach. You coach when there is time. That, okay, so what do you think? All right, so try it and let's see. But if there's no time and the decision has to be taken, you cannot be coaching. I know someone personally that his leadership style is coaching. It doesn't matter whether there is earthquake or there is flooding, it will still be coaching when decision has to be made. Okay, and the next is that you support team member performance. So you look at it at the group, but then you also need to identify and see how you can support each of the team member to be able to perform. Because some people will say, oh, me, I don't work well with team, but you can encourage them. Sometimes it's because they are protecting their personal spaces. You need to know how to support your team member, communicate and collaborate with stakeholders. This is a question I ask sometimes when I'm training. What do you do with the difficult stakeholders? Some people say, me, I just avoid them. I don't even know because I don't want them to mess up with my energy. Hey, no, you need to find ways that you would be able to manage even difficult stakeholders. Sometimes after finishing project, you are drained because there are some stakeholders that are stretching your life. But when you finish, you become a better project manager than you started the project. So you need to, and from your your stakeholder register, you would have performed some analysis and then put the stakeholders in the category they belong. And so you can tell who is difficult, like, in fact, what influences your categorization mainly is the power and the influence they have on your project. Is the power and influence they have on the project. Your main sponsor, you can't say the person is difficult and you are hiding. No, you can't hide. You will still have to collaborate and communicate with the stakeholders. So this is what we do now when we are training PMP. And then you offer training, coaching, and mentoring to your team. You empower them to be able to deliver. And then you manage conflict. I forgot to mention during forming the team, the 5 stages of team formation: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjournment. It is still there. And so, because you are bringing people from different backgrounds, different experiences, and the way we process things are different, there will be conflict. It's okay for you to have conflict, but how the conflict is handled is what matters. So when you are forming, storming, there will be high level of conflict at that level. Then the norming, it means people now understand their spaces and they understand what they are supposed to do, and then they start performing, then they adjourn. It's important that when you form your team, you have team charter and you have ground rules, because this is what would help to know what not to do, what to do, and if you falter, how you will be handled. And that would play a key role in managing conflict. It is always advisable that the 2 people that are involved in conflict are the first to have conversation about the conflict, okay? And then if you're unable to resolve it, de-escalate it to their to their superior. Don't encourage people coming to you to complain about their team members without having had a conversation with a said team member. And then the next lesson, I think the 5th one, is support the project team. Support the project team. What do you do when you support the project team? You implement ongoing improvements. Like this PMP is encouraging. Oh, please, can we mute our mics, please? Patrick. Thank you. Like continuous learning. So you support the project team to be able to deliver better than they did previously. Okay. And then you support performance. Often we talk about, I've been on this task for 14 hours. Well, that's unfortunate. If you spend 14 hours and there's still no result, it's unfortunate, but you have not done anything. In Nigeria, we say that the person who passes is the person who studied. So you are supporting performance. You are helping your team. Whatever you need to put in place to ensure that the time they spend translates into results. That is what it means in you supporting them. And then you evaluate project baseline progress. You remember that when we said that you start project and you plan project, you determine baselines there. And so with your baseline, you'll be able to evaluate your project progress. You will still use your EVM, the schedule variance, cost variance, budget at completion, budget to complete. All those calculations are still there in evaluating how you are doing. Then you manage issues and impediments. These are the things you do, and that support the team. Issues can also be conflict or issues pertaining to the project itself. You manage and you find solutions to them with your team. In fact, when you're applying for PMP now, and all you are talking about is, I did this, I did that, they translate it to mean that you are not a team worker, like you are not working with your team. So you are supposed to be doing things with your team. So it's important. And then you manage changes. We said earlier that organizations should know, or you as a project manager should know, that change does exist. And then you try to take advantage of change, okay? So that you are not caught unawares. So you manage changes to your project, changes to your team, changes to organization. Because when you understand the strategic goal or the values your organization intend to implement, some project may come to an end. You may call for project to come to an end when you feel that, or you are convinced, not feel, you are convinced that the output of this project will not add value to the organization based on your position. Okay. And then the last that we are all familiar with, you close the project. You close the project. What do? We say it's a formal closure of the project. And then benefit realization. Benefit realization is when you are also looking at the output of the project as it translates into outcomes, which are the values the organization will benefit from the project. And that is where the operations comes in. How are they going to implement what you are delivering as your output, and the knowledge transfer, which many organizations we are feeling. When I'm training, I ask, do you have a repository where you keep your knowledge or lessons learned and all that? They don't. Obia, when you finish your project, you hold it to your heart. And I think that is one of the areas PMOs are going to help the project management office, where projects will be standardized, the templates and the lessons learned will be given to the PMOs, and then they would be able to pass it on to project managers that are going to manage similar projects, so that it does not reinvent the wheel. So from this is what we do when we train project management now. I think even for a facilitator, it is less daunting, because the tools and techniques, the inputs and outputs are no longer there, but the tools are there. Like when you are identifying risk, for instance, you still need to apply what is it called? The 70-20 rule, or the Ishikawa is still there, but it is looked at as tools, and not you. What are the inputs, tools and techniques, and the outputs? So thank you for your time. I would pick few questions if you have them, and then we end the session. You can put your questions in the chat box, or it would be great to hear your voice too. If no one is talking, I may call you one by one for me to be sure you don't have questions. Then we end the session so that we can enjoy our weekend.
Hi, Adrian. This is Edwin.
Hi, Adrian.
Thanks for the presentation. I noticed you are recording. I joined about 3 minutes late, so the starting point, I missed it. Are we going to get a recording?
Oh, sure.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes. Hey. Hello. Okay. Thank you very much for joining the session. I wish you all the best, because no one is talking, so I assume that you don't have questions for me.
But I spoke, Jim.
Sorry?
Spoke now.
Yeah, you spoke. I will send the slide.
Yeah.
I will try and make it available. I'll just put it on the Google.
Oh,
I think people were talking when you were presenting. Now that you stop presenting,
oh, me, I just like I dey go pick my other car.
Hey.
That's how come I dey pick.
Please, are you going to?
Park one
You are going to pick your other car? Is it for us?
So I just go pick am. I make I made somebody
If-
pick it up and patch it at the
It's
shelf.
not the way on
Anyways, so from my perspective, I think PMP is simpler, but it will shock you that people are feeling it as well. And it's more relatable to projects now and to organizations. And it's because PMI has recognized that organizations are achieving their business value through execution of projects. And so what is prevalent? It is not just theory, but what is relatable to project that we are managing. And that is why we've seen these changes. And one other thing is, when you write PMP, you don't receive your results immediately.
Hello, Madam
anymore. A moment, please.
Hello.
I saw that. Hello, Mr. Ola, please kindly hold. When you write a PMP now, you don't receive your results immediately anymore. It takes about 5 days for you to receive the result. And it is because of the fraudulent activities where some people take over people writing exam screen to answer on their behalf. So it takes a while. They want to look at the algorithm to be sure that you are the one who wrote the exam and not as if somebody took your place to write the exam. Yes, Ola, please go on.
Very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. Yeah, and I greet everybody in the house. Yes, the PMP of these days seems to be well simplified, unlike in the past, because I could remember that in the past it's a bit cumbersome, but now I could say that it is well simplified. So, and from the people, and or rather from my own assessment, I could see that a lot of people
there to go.
So it's just a word of encouragement to our people that PMP is now well simplified, that people
for the
do
development
so that they can pass it at one go.
All right, thank you. Please just check if your mic is on mute when you are not talking. The assumption is all of you here are PMP certified, but you got certified before 2nd January.
Follow.
When the exam changed. Okay. Ebu, please, your question. I see your hand.
Yes, thank you very much for the session. My question is about, I heard you during the session talking about what you call it, incremental and then product owner. Are those new things that have come in the exam? Because that I know has to do with Agile and Scrum. So I'm not sure. I want to know if now PMP factors all of that.
All right, thank you. Now PMP looks at predictive, which is the one you did. I mean, you as in the people on this call. And adaptive, where you have Agile, Scrum, and then looks at hybrid. And hybrid is a combination of predictive and adaptive. So all the things I just glossed over now, during the training, we look at it from the perspective of predictive, we look at it from the perspective of adaptive, and then we look at it from the perspective of hybrid. In fact, usually hybrid is just the combination or any of the traits for the predictive and adaptive, depending on the methodology that you have chosen for your project. So now PMP, that is the difference. So if you base in fact, PMP is based on, let me read the books that PMP is based on now. It's based on the Guide to the Project Management. That's the Pinbox 6th edition. Because of the plan, you see, when I went through the plan project, you see, you plan scope, budget, time, schedule, risk, quality, So that is why the 6th edition is relevant. Then the agile practice guide, because people say, Jimmy, is the PMP based on 7th edition or 6th edition? 7th edition, go and read it. It's telling you like what PMP is focusing on now. It's not enough to read to pass exam. So it's based on the 6th edition, it's based on agile practice guidance, based on project management, a systems approach to planning, scheduling, and controlling. 4 is based on effective project management, traditional, agile, extreme, and hybrid. It's based on project managers portable handbook, 3rd edition. It's based on information technology project management, 7th edition. It's based on essential Scrum, a practical guide to the most popular agile process. It's based on project management, the managerial process. And the 9th, fundamentals of technology project management, 2nd edition. And the last but not the least, the project management toolkit, 100 tips and techniques for getting the job done right. So the exam is no longer based on 6th edition. So these days, I receive lots of people who have failed the exam and they want me to help them to pass because they've gone to an individual that is PMP certified and the guy feels he can teach 35 contact hour and teaches based on what he knows. That is just about 50% of the exam now. And he throws in some agile and so now you are ready to write the exam. And so I'm reluctant to take people like that. I'm like, who is going to take the glory? Will it be my company or where you had the training? You understand what I'm saying? So now PMP looks at predictive, which the leader will be project manager, and then looks at adaptive, who the lead of the team will be Scrum master, if they're adopting Scrum, or just the product owner. And then if it is hybrid, may have 2 leads, project manager and the product owner or the Scrum master, depending on what is being used. Yes.
Thank you very much. Actually, you've answered my second question about the leader, if they have a Scrum Master and product owner, because I thought when you were giving the presentation, you meant that the product owner replaces the project manager. So now you've clarified it. Thank you.
Most welcome. Ebu is such a pretty lady, my sister. Bernard.
Thank you.
Hello, Bernard.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
I think with the response given for our lady's question, that's answered my question. But so I'll volunteer my services as a co-host next time. I think the disruption has been a lot, and so at least if you get a co-host, the person can. But I've really been, how do you say? It has been an insightful session. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. Bernard, when did you become certified?
December 2020.
Oh, you were one of those. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I know Saturday is family time, and I'm happy you joined because I received lots of questions. I was actually going to do an elaborate one at a fee, and I realized that it was going to take lots of time, and then people were calling, negotiating, and all that. So I decided to do this free one so that we can all appreciate that when you did your PMP, it was looked at from just one angle, predictive, plan-based, from beginning to end. The difference now is we still look at the plan-based from beginning to end, and we look at adaptive, and then we look at hybrid. And so I tell my students, when you're answering questions, you need to first situate the question. Is they asking from a predictive methodology angle, from adaptive methodology angle, or from hybrid methodology? So once you situate that, because something could be right for predictive and be wrong for adaptive approach. So you need to first situate that. And then we've been having successful story of people passing, but unfortunately too, we have people that are failing. One of the questions people also ask me is, last year, November, I threw out my training schedule as well as the cost. Hey, it's so expensive. Even the chapter is this. And I'm like, okay. When I wrote my PMP exam in 2011, I remember after the training, I was asked to do exam prep. I'm like, I was just looking at the man that you are joking. Me, the engineer, what are they going to ask? Because the component of the calculations is very small. Though I desire to have bigger components because that is one of the areas that I enjoy. I didn't pay for PMP exam prep. I went to write the exam. I have a video on it. I went to write the exam. I failed. And you see, when I was answering the question, it was like, yeah, correct. And then when I submitted, I saw, we are sorry you failed. And they had to come and take me out from Total House because I couldn't get up. It was like a dream, me fail, how? And so eventually I had to pay for the simulator and I realized where I was getting it wrong. I was unconsciously answering the questions the way we were practicing or managing projects in my organization, which wasn't the standard. So my training, I don't train people just for 35 contact hours. It's a package. In the package, you have the training, you have the simulator, and the simulator is not built by June. I pay for the simulator in USD. I pay for the training slides from PMI. So the slides I use are not made by me. Like we used to have REPs that will make slides and then send to PMI. And PMI was okay, this one is okay, you can use it to train. Now, PMI has a standardized um, slides, and then you pay for each of your students to have access to the slides. Okay. And also, like now, people ask Jimmy, okay, you should be able to teach risk management. I told yes, but I'm not an authorized risk trainer. You have PBA, you should be able to train PBA. We can have a conversation on PBA, but I will not train you to go and write the exam because I'm not an authorized PBA trainer. It is important for me because it's an ethic issue. Just as when I was president for 4 years, I did not train. I could have trained, but I felt I had undue advantage as president. I was seeing the proposal coming from organizations or individuals. So if I train, no matter how I try, it will influence my decision and I'll be taking undue advantage of other trainers that were not exposed to such benefits. So the 4 years, I did not train at all. And so when I was applying for my company to be a authorized trainer, one of the things that went against me is my organization has not trained for 3 years because you need to be trained, you need to have trained for 3 years for your organization to receive that. So I had to apply for me as an individual to be an authorized trainer through an organization. I don't regret that because I felt I did the right thing. So I'm telling you this, if you know people that want to write exam, we have individuals that are PMP certified that are just training. For me to become PMP authorized, I had to go for a training with PMI and be tested. And yours really did very well. I'm even impressed with myself. And that was how I became the trainer. So advise people. I encourage people to spend money. Some people will say, Jimmy, I've scheduled the exam. Can I get some practice questions? I'm like, something that me, I don't get it for free. I have to pay for it. How do you ask? To encourage people to spend money if they want to be certified. And so with all these things that I do, it is to increase the probability of you passing at first sitting because the other component is for those people. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. It's
Yes,
for those, thank you. It's like you have everything, but part of the mix is you yourself making use of the resources you have been given. So that is what I do. And I'm enjoying myself because I'm having sizable number of people passing PMP and I'm having fun. So if you have any question, I'm sure most of you have my WhatsApp number. You can send it to me. And I would like to kindly request that you follow me and my company on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, on my social media handle, aside X, I'm Jumokela Fewa, and my company is Okin Valley on them as well. And on X, which used to be Twitter, is Jimmy B, and my company is Okin Limited. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Enjoy your weekend, and I will be sharing the recording.
Thank you.